Good morning once again, my brothers and sisters. Today we look at Numbers 18. Now, we're starting to understand that God is clearing up some of the dysfunction in the community. Many have rebelled against Moses' leadership. Aaron has put his staff, or the Lord has asked Moses to put Aaron's staff in the tent of meeting along with all the other tribes' staffs. It ends up that Aaron's is the one that sprouts. Not only does it get buds and leaves and flowers, it produces almonds. And God has clearly said, Aaron is the one, and his line is the one who is permitted to serve me at the tent of meeting and to basically operate the sacrificial system. So God has clearly defined what he wants, and he's put down a rebellion. Some 15,000 people or so have died through their own conceit and their own unwillingness to simply trust God and obey. But now God takes some time here in Numbers 18 to talk to the Levites themselves. A very insightful discussion, or should I say soliloquy. The Lord said to Aaron, notice how we've always been seeing that the Lord said to Moses, but now the Lord is addressing Aaron directly. Okay, the Lord said to Aaron, you, your sons, and your father's family are to bear the responsibility for offenses against the sanctuary, and you and your sons alone are to bear the responsibility for offenses against the priesthood. Aaron, you're in charge of this, and I'm holding you responsible for what happens to it. You're going to be responsible for any misconduct that comes. We're not going to allow just anybody who feels like it to offer these sacrifices. You're in charge. Be in charge. I'm holding you accountable. Bring your fellow Levites from your ancestral tribe to join you and assist you when you and your sons minister before the tent of the testimony. You remember Levi, he was one of Leah's sons, right, through Jacob. Okay, this is the tribe God has designated to be the tribe that administers the priesthood. They're the ones that are going to operate the sacrificial system for centuries to come. All right. God is making sure they understand, and he's delineating his parameters to make sure they do it the way he wants it done. They are to be responsible to you and are to perform all the duties of the tent, but they must not go near the furnishings of the sanctuary or the altar, or both. They and you will die. Okay, so Aaron, let's start here. Bring your family, bring your heritage into the service of the tent of meeting, but there's a very specific group that's allowed to come into the sanctuary to deal with the furnishings. And guess what? When I tell you you're responsible, if this goes wrong, you're going to die too. That's quite an incentive, isn't it? They are to join you and to be responsible for the care of the tent of meeting, all the work at the tent of meeting, and no one else may come near where you are. Aaron, you're the high priest. You're the high priest alone. Interesting. You are to be responsible for the care of the sanctuary and the altar, so that wrath will not fall on the Israelites again. So we've just gone through this rebellion. Apparently the people didn't understand, but maybe also the case is Aaron hasn't stepped into the position as fully as he should have. And now God is saying, look, you're going to be responsible for the next go-round of wrath if you don't step up and do what you're called to do. I myself have selected your fellow Levites from among the Israelites as a gift to you, dedicated to the Lord to do the work at the tent of meeting. Notice, it's a privilege to serve God at the tent, but only you and your sons may serve as priests in connection with everything at the altar and inside the curtain. There's a distinction. Only you, Aaron, I am giving you the service of the priesthood as a gift. Wow, what a privilege, Aaron. You get to serve me. All right. Anyone else who comes near the sanctuary must be put to death. God is very specific about what he wants, and he wants Aaron to be in charge of the priesthood, and he wants Aaron to serve him in the tent of meeting, in the Holy of Holies, in the places where no one else is allowed to go. Anyone else who comes near the sanctuary must be put to death. This is sacred space, meant only for the high priest. Then the Lord said to Aaron, I myself have put you in charge of the offerings presented to me. All the holy offerings the Israelites give me, I give to you and your sons as your portion and regular share. What's happening here? Well, the Levites aren't like any of the other tribes. They're not out raising livestock or planting crops. The Levites are working in the temple. What does that mean? Well, they're never going to quit their day job, because their day job is to serve before the Lord. It's been a gift. It's a privilege given by God himself. So how are they going to eat? God's making a way for them right here. The offerings that the Israelites bring, that through the priesthood the Levites administer, those will be the provisions for the priesthood. All right. You are to have the part of the most holy offerings that is kept from the fire, from all the gifts they bring me as most holy things, whether grain or sin or guilt offerings. That part belongs to you and your sons. There's provision made for you here, Levites. Eat it as something most holy. Every male shall eat it. You must regard it as holy. In other words, when it goes through the sacrificial process, it becomes holy. Treat it with respect. It's set apart for God. This also is yours. Whatever is set aside from the gifts of all the wave offerings of the Israelites, I give this to you and your sons and daughters as your regular share. Everyone in your household who is ceremonially clean may eat it. So you're being provided for. I give you all the finest olive oil and all the finest new wine and grain. They give the Lord as the first fruits of their harvest. All the land's first fruits that they bring to the Lord will be yours. Everyone in your household who is ceremonially clean may eat it. God provides a food source for the Levites. Even though they're not farmers and they're not raising livestock, they are receiving the sacrifices of those who offer at the temple, which is the whole Israelite community. I shouldn't say temple, I should say tent of meeting at this stage in Israel's development. Everything in Israel that is devoted to the Lord is yours. The first offspring of every womb, both man and animal, that is offered to the Lord is yours. So God's providing this resource. In fact, a very full resource. But you must redeem every firstborn son and every firstborn male of unclean animals. In other words, you go through the process that I've already given you to make sure that these meet the requirements that I insist upon, is what God's saying. When they are a month old, you must redeem them at the redemption price set at 5 shekels of silver, according to the sanctuary shekel, which weighs 20 gerahs. But you must not redeem the firstborn of an ox, a sheep, or a goat. They are holy. Sprinkle their blood on the altar, burn their fat as an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Their meat, listen to that, their meat is to be yours, just as the breast of the wave offering and the right thigh are yours. Again, provision. Whatever is set aside from the holy offerings the Israelites present to the Lord, I give to you and your sons and daughters as your regular share. It's an everlasting covenant of salt. Remember that little phrase, covenant of salt. Salt in the ancient world was extremely valuable. In fact, they used it as currency in many places. That's where we get phrases like, are you worth your salt? And so when God is reiterating what he's doing here and says it's an everlasting covenant of salt, he's reassuring the tribe of Levi and Aaron himself that this is a binding covenant that God is making before him. So it's an everlasting covenant of salt before the Lord for both you and your offspring. The Lord said to Aaron, again, notice Aaron is the one addressed in these versus you will have no inheritance in their land. Oh, so no property for you, Aaron, nor will you have any share among them. Okay, so you're not going to be living as the normal Israelite lives. You're being set apart, all right? You won't have any share among them. But look at this. He says, I am your share. I am your share and your inheritance among the Israelites. I am your share. That's a fantastic moment to think about the fact that God is saying, instead of having material blessings of property, money, livestock, whatever, you're going to have me. I'm the portion. As he told Abraham so many chapters ago in the book of Genesis, I am your very great reward. Now he tells Aaron, I'm your share. And praise God, what a share that is. Verse 21, I give to the Levites all the tithes in Israel as their inheritance in return for the work they do while serving at the tent of meeting. So when the people bring their tithes, the Israelites bring their tithes, guess what? The Levites receive those as their inheritance. All right, totally provided for. From now on, the Israelites must not go near the tent of meeting, or they will bear the consequence of their sin and they will die. Notice that God steps in again to reiterate this. This holy place and this inner place, the most holy place, is really sacred. And I don't want anybody just walking in here or assuming that it's nonchalant. There's no big reason to be fearful. No. Anybody who rolls in here just because they think they want to, they're going to die. All right? They must not go near the tent of meeting. Verse 23, it is the Levites who are to do the work at the tent of meeting and bear the responsibility for offenses against it. In other words, we have a tent of meeting patrols here where we make sure that nobody does what God has said not to do regarding this tent of meeting. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. They will receive no inheritance among the Israelites. It's the Levites who are to do the work. Again, the Levites are God's priesthood. He is the one who has established them. He is now providing their inheritance, even though they're not working as a normal Israelite would work. Instead, I give to the Levites as their inheritance the tithes that the Israelites present as an offering to the Lord. So again, here we go, tithes, 10%. We saw tithes talked about way back in Genesis when Abraham gives a tenth of all he has to King Methuselah. Do you remember that? All right. So here we are in Numbers, and God's talking about 10% again. They present the offering to the Lord, and the Lord allows the Levites to have it. That is why I said concerning them, they will have no inheritance among the Israelites. They'll be completely provided for, but that security of having your own land and your own whatever possession, that's not meant for the servants that are offering the sacrifices. No, their share is God himself and the privilege of serving him in the tabernacle. The Lord said to Moses, so now we have a shift of character. We're not talking to Aaron right now, we're talking to Moses. Now remember, Moses is also a Levite, born to a Levite father and mother. God says to him, speak to the Levites and say to them, when you receive from the Israelites the tithe I give you as your inheritance, you must present a tenth of that tithe as the Lord's offering. So, hey, guess what, priesthood? Your job isn't going to be only to receive. I want you to present a tithe of what you receive as well, so that everybody in the community gets to understand that their obligation before God is to give and give their offering to him in the form of a tithe. Your offering will be reckoned to you as grain from the threshing floor or juice from the wine press. In this way, you will present an offering to the Lord from all the tithes you received from the Israelites. From these tithes, you must give the Lord's portion to Aaron the priest. All right, so now we're tithing directly to the high priest, you must present as the Lord's portion the best and holiest part of everything given to you. In other words, I'm not looking for your leftovers, just as God claims the firstborn, just as God wants the first fruits that we share or give our tithe to Him, our offering to Him of the very best that we have. He's demanding the same of the Levites. Say to the Levites, when you present the best part, it'll be reckoned to you as the product of the threshing floor or the winepress. You and your households may eat the rest of it anywhere, for it is your wages for your work at the tent of meeting. And by presenting the best part of it, you will not be guilty in this manner. Then you will not defy the holy offerings of the Israelites, and you will not die. Again, God continues to come back to life and death in terms of obedience to how He wants His tent of meeting to operate. Very insightful. We pay pastors in the modern world. Sometimes pastors have to have two jobs because they can barely make it. Well, you see that in the tradition of God as He sets up the 12 tribes and prepares to have them enter into the promised land, God makes sure that the people that are serving Him are well cared for and have enough. Quite a lesson, church. God bless you. Serve Him well today.
Who is it who for sinners shed His blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who He is? He's the image of the invisible God, and He's the brightness of His glory, the first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.